Hello and welcome to episode 211 of the Casual Try Hard podcast. I'm Brian,
And I'm James.
and today we're doing kind of part two of our Phyrexian All Will Be One, set
Set
review.
review.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was supposed to be a little bit more of a two-parter, but we went a little long on Toxic last week and really only scratched the surface of cards, so it's only technically a two-parter. We're gonna call it a two-parter, though.
Hey, technically correct is the best kind of correct.
That's right.
So, if you want to get at us on social media, tell us what you're excited about, what we missed, all that jazz, all those links, Facebook, Twitter, Discord, are all in the description below.
Yeah, hit them up. If you're looking to support the show, there's two ways you can do it. The first is really easy. When you buy stuff, use our TCG Player affiliate link. It doesn't cost you anything. TCG Player is usually the best deal around also. So you're getting the best deal and it doesn't cost you anything to support the show. So if you head on over to tcg.casualtryhardmtg.com and then do whatever shopping you're going to do, we would really appreciate that. The second way, if you feel like we do a really good job and you want to hook us up, you can head on over to patreon.com/casualtryhardmtg. Chip a couple bucks in, however much you feel we're worth, we would appreciate. There's tiers of all levels, or you could put in whatever amount you want. That's there also. Patrons get access to our show notes so that you have a kind of a sneak peek of what we're going to be talking about the following week. And then they also get access to our pre-show, which is us just kind of catching up for the most part, making sure all our equipment's working. Today there was a whole lot of making sure our equipment's working because I got a new computer and it was not working.
But
so our patrons
we are
got
currently
access
working
to.
now.
That's right, we're currently working. Our patrons got to stumble through that process with us, though.
They got
And
some
also,
sick audio, let me tell you.
yeah, sorry in, I guess not advance, but in retrospect, I apologize. Patrons also get put on my mailing list. Occasionally, I have some cool stuff that I order in and send out to the patrons as a thank you. So if you want to be included in that, send me your address when you sign up, and I will send stuff out to you.
Yeah.
We got anything else for cleaning up?
I don't think. I think I think that's about everything.
All right, well, let's jump into the show then. Normally, when we do these, we like to talk about the limited archetypes kind of on their own because everybody can use that going into either their pre-release weekend when they're building their sealed deck or when it drops on Arena. A lot of people play limited and, they can kind of have a refresher of what the draft archetypes are going to be. So we like to break those out separate from our set review. And we didn't have all of the signpost uncommons last week. So we're going to do those right now.
Right now, let's go.
Right now. First up is white and blue. And this is Artifact Control, is what the archetype is called.
Is what they said on the stream.
Yeah.
So
I'm assuming they're calling it control because traditionally white and blue are the control colors. Even though this cephalopod sentry isn't necessarily a control card. It's just kind of an artifact matters card. This is kind of an artifact set, and white and blue are going to be artifact matters. Cephalopod sentry is 2 white blue for a star 5 Phyrexian squid artifact creature with flying, and its power is equal to the number of artifacts you control. So obviously cares about the number of artifacts you have.
So I'm like counting as we're talking, and just on the first page, there are 5 creatures. Well, 5 artifacts that are blue or white. I think 4 of them are creatures that that are blue and white that would power this guy up.
Yeah.
Also, this guy likes all of the 4 Mirrodin equipment.
Yep. For sure. Are the mites artifacts?
Yes.
The mite tokens?
Yes.
That powers it up as well. Mites is one of the white themes, I guess. There's a lot of white cards that make mite creature tokens with toxic. And they will power up all your artifact synergies as well.
Yeah, there are a ton of creatures that are artifacts.
Mhm.
at like common and uncommon in blue and white. So like this could easily be like a 4 mana 5/5.
Yeah. And we were talking a little bit during the pre-show that there's randomly a couple like affinity cards, and one of them is in white also, right?
Yeah, it's like a don't know what it's remember what it's called. Let's see if I can find it. Plated Onslaught is 3 white white for an instant. It gives your creatures +2/+1, but has affinity for artifacts. So like in this deck, it's 2 mana kill your opponent.
Basically, yeah.
Right, you get like 3 or 4 artifacts out, and you're just like trumpet blast you,
Yeah.
but white. Hey, that was like the best archetype in Dominaria was red white trumpet blast.
Mhm.
That deck was great. So this is blue white better trumpet blue white. Your things that you trumpet blast also fly. So that's
Right.
that's usually a pretty good recipe.
Seems decent.
Yeah, there's a lot of cards like you'll easily have like I mean, especially if you're like trying, you'll easily have half your cards be artifacts in blue
Yeah.
and white.
Yeah, and like I said, plus whatever random token synergies you have, they're all going to be artifacts as well.
All right. Next up, we have again wizards. Chef's kiss. Blue black corrupted control.
Well, to be fair, this isn't Wizards' fault. Wizards used to do these limited articles. I don't think they do anymore. The last few sets, I haven't been able to find a Wizards of the Coast limited archetypes article.
Yeah,
And I didn't have time to write descriptions, so I stole these from someone else's article.
but that person stole their stuff from Andrew Brown, game designer at Wizards of the Coast. So, again, we are a multi-billion-dollar arm of a multi-billion-dollar corporation. Can't throw someone $250 to write an article, or even Jerry
Yep.
T's rate. Even throw someone like $1,000 to write an article. Can't do it.
Yep.
How many of these articles do we need a year? 4. Can't spare $4,000. Can't do it.
Too much.
You know, we would have got an article if we would have bought 4 more, as the 30th anniversary packs.
Oh, yeah, probably.
Yeah, that's what it is. They had to cut the articles after that. It's our fault. Anyway, we have.
They cut the articles before that.
Hey, they'd make us feel bad.
Yeah.
We saw the backlash, so we cut the articles. So we have Void Wing Hybrid. It is blue black for a 2/1 flyer at uncommon. It has Toxic 1, and when you proliferate, return this from your graveyard to your hand. So it doesn't have Death Touch. Like I thought it was just Baleful Strix initially, like without the draw card. Like it draws itself. But this is like you play this and aggressively trade it off, and if your deck has any kind of proliferate, you get to buy it back.
Yeah. I mean, it's a pretty good rate, too.
Oh yeah, a
It
2/1.
buys back for free and a 2/1 flying for
I
2
mean,
mana.
There's not a huge difference between a 2/1 flyer and a 2/2 flyer.
Right.
Like Wing Drake used to be like the bar, and it was a 2/2 flyer for 3,
Right.
right? And then I know we got like a 3/2 flyer for 3 last set or the set before. But like, yeah, this is just like kind of above for a 2 mana thing, and the fact that you get to bring it back.
Yeah.
I would
It,
like. Oh, good.
I was just gonna say that the archetype for this is supposedly corrupted control. This, even though it doesn't have corrupted on it, this kind of plays into it. This card is looking to play a long game, which fits with a control aspect, and the fact that it has toxic and cares about proliferate means that you're probably going to be turning on your corrupted stuff, which is also in this color combination.
Yeah, like just you may just, I think we talked about this last week. Just get that first counter, cast 2 things that have proliferate, and then all of your cards get really good.
Yeah.
I guess all you need to do is just get to 3.
Yep.
So I was gonna say, using whatever was it, Midnight Hunt? I think it was Midnight Hunt as the example. Remember when they like put a decayed zombie on everything for no mana cost?
Yep.
If you go through this set and look at the stuff that has proliferate on it, they forgot to put a mana cost on proliferate. Like it is just it is free over and over and over again. And that is usually a recipe for something that is going to be good. And like the cards, so like here, Serum Snare. 1 of the blue, return target creature to its owner's hand. Right, so target non-land permanent, I'm sorry. Return target non-land permanent. And that permanent had mana value 3 or less, proliferate. Right, like that. The first part of that card,
it's the rate for that.
Yeah, is the rate, and then they just stuck proliferate on it. Yeah, so like there's just like that was just there's the counter spell, the set counter spell, 1 blue counter target spell, have what's it called? Have set ability stapled onto it.
Yeah.
And they have that as well. So I just went past 3 blue, draw 3 cards, proliferate. Like that is the cost of draw 3 cards. On like a common or an uncommon is 5. So there's just a lot of we just stuck proliferate on this and we're hoping it's okay. So this guy won't be hard to trigger.
No. Should be pretty straightforward. Next up, we have Black-Red. The theme of Black-Red is sacrifice with artifacts and creatures. And the signpost for this archetype is Charforger. 1 Black-Red for a 2/3 Phyrexian beast. When Charforger enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 Phyrexian goblin creature token. Whenever another creature or artifact you control is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, put an oil counter on Charforger, and you can remove 3 oil counters from Charforger to exile a top card of your library, and you may play that card this turn. So sacrifice synergies, and this thing turns it into card advantage eventually, but isn't a sacrifice outlet. So I'm assuming there's other sacrifice outlets.
Yeah. Yeah, there are. Like, I would love it if like the Black-Red archetype was like Black-Red Flyers, or like
Black-Red control,
Black-Red, any number of things other than it's sacrifice. But this time you're sacrificing something else.
Yeah.
Or not only sacking creatures, but artifacts too. It's like, thanks. Yeah. One day, just give me a different archetype. Just one. just hit me with something that is different than Black-Red sack. I mean, it's fine. I guess it depends on like what the sacrifice outlets are. Like I'm like quick scroll. There's like Nahiri Sacrifice, which is like sacrifice things and deal damage equal to the converted mana cost to any number of things. I'm just trying to find the other sacrifice outlets.
There was a Bone Shards.
Okay.
Annihilating Glare.
Okay.
Is a black mana for a sorcery. Is an additional cost to cast this. Pay 4 mana or sacrifice an artifact or creature.
Gotcha. So, yeah, the Eaten Alive variant.
Yep. There's a couple creatures that like let you sacrifice like one thing per turn, I think.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of stuff there. I mean, it seems fine, but I also feel like it is kind of just a thing we get like every set.
Yeah.
Like
I don't think there's much more to say about it than that. We've like, had it every set, and this card I don't think is particularly compelling. So
no, where is the? I know I saw it. The Threaten effect, is it 4 mana in this set? Like that is
yes, Awaken the Sleeper.
Oh, is that what
3
it is?
in a red.
Okay,
Gain
yeah.
control of target creature till end of turn. Untap it, gains haste.
Mhm.
If it's equipped, you can destroy all equipment attached to it.
Okay.
That's what you get for your extra red mana.
Yeah, like fine.
Yep.
But it like that is your like it being 4 mana is rough.
Mm-hmm.
So that's usually like if it's 3 mana, then you're like really doing it.
Yep.
But yeah, so it's fine. Like I'm not like, ooh, let's play Black Red Sacrifice.
No, me neither.
All
Which
right.
is not good for me.
No, it is not. That is usually your jam. All
Yeah.
right. Red green is oil counters.
Mm-hmm.
So oil counters, if you, I think we mentioned this before, right? It's just like a collection of things that gets moved around, and then you
Yep.
often use it to pay some cost. Either
Yep.
like remove it to untap a thing, remove it to deal damage, something, right? As we saw
It's
last time.
energy, but they're on a thing instead of on you.
That is, I thought about that the other day, and if you
Yep.
go super deep, do you remember where energy came from?
It was an unused mechanic from original Mirrodin, right?
Yes. So like Mario had talked about, like it was in his notebook,
Yep.
so they busted it out for Kaladesh,
Yep.
and so like this almost feels like fixed energy, where
Yeah.
instead of you getting all the oil counters, right, you can kill your thing that has all the oil counters, and you lose that resource.
Yeah.
So we have Cinderlast Ravager for red green for a 5/5. And the spell costs 1 less to cast for each permanent you control with an oil counter on it. And it has Vigilance. And when it enters the battlefield, it deals 1 damage to each creature your opponent controls.
Hmm.
Um,
I don't know how relevant. Oh, I guess like with the mites and stuff, that
it
last
gets the
ability is
mites,
relevant.
so that matters. But I was gonna say like a
What's this
five,
thing gonna cost? Like 3 mana most of the time, 4 mana?
probably 4. Like I think it's realistic that you could like build your deck and you could consistently have 2 things with oil counters,
Yeah.
right? Like so a 4 mana 5/5. What was that stupid like red green thing from guilds?
Oh yeah.
Right, like a 4 mana 5/5 is kind of a beating. Now, granted, I just compared it to a card from like 4 years ago, so that
Right.
comparison might be totally flawed now.
Yeah, I think that card was mostly vanilla, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this like vigilance is kind of mostly vanilla,
Yeah.
but like I'd rather it have trample. But hey, can't get everything.
Or haste.
Yeah, or all of it. Like I don't know, questing
Yeah, it's
ravager.
Questy boy.
Yeah,
Does this art give you like Pyramid Head vibes?
a little. Like he's like looking down.
Yeah.
Oh, is there gum on my shoe? There you go. So yeah, I think you could probably expect it to cost like 4 pretty consistently. I think that's like where it's good.
Yeah.
If you can go like 2, 3, this guy, like you're feeling pretty good.
Yeah, I think there's plenty of like random cards with oil counters on them. And again, I think some of it like hasn't been costed in. So I think even just a normal limited deck is going to have access to some number of oil. Like every limited deck is going to have some sort of oil counter something in it.
Yeah, there's just
so-
too many
Yeah.
cards
And
to
they're-
not have it.
Yeah, and it does seem like the oil counters are kind of focused. There's more in red and green than some of the other colors. So I think you should be able to turn this guy on, no problem.
Yeah, agreed. He's just gonna like kind of be like free.
Mhm.
Like, oh hey, thing. He's like, thanks.
Yep.
Well, not free, but like you're not gonna have to build that much around them. Like you're gonna be red and green, and you're gonna get this, and you're like, oh, awesome.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
What's up next here?
We have green white, and this is kind of go wide and toxic. And the uncommon we have is Slaughter Stinger. It's green white for a 2/2 with toxic 2. And whenever another creature you control with toxic attacks, it gets +1/+1 till end of turn. So it's like a lord for your poison boys.
So speaking of art commentary, the way his hands are, it makes me just like, oh my god, what happened to my head? What happened to my head?
Yeah.
just you gotta. I know this is an audio medium, but you should go check out the YouTube and watch the watch to see exactly what we're talking about. So, Toxic 2 is kind of a beating. If you
Especially like if this format is at all slow, like this might get in for a couple turns before they either have an answer or a blocker for it.
yeah, and
And
like
then they're half dead.
yeah, and if you think about it, Toxic 2 is equivalent to 4 power.
Mm-hmm.
Right, you're as close to dead with 6 poison counters as you are at 8 life.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and then the fact that it makes your things bigger and lets like you get in an attack that you might not otherwise have.
Yep.
Is pretty solid. I mean,
and I think we talked last week a lot about how like green and white's probably a pretty good color for if you're trying to make toxic work in standard. So I don't know that we need to rehash all of that, but there's definitely support for toxic in green and white.
And and green has a lot of like proliferate nonsense as well.
Yeah.
And so, right, you could be in a situation where like, oh, what is this card? I was just looking at it. Canker Bloom, right? It's one of the blue for a 3/2, or sorry, one of the green for a 3/2 because power creep. And then you can sacrifice it to destroy an artifact, destroy an enchantment, or to proliferate, right? Like you get your opponent to like 9, and you draw your Canker Bloom, and they lose.
Yep.
Right. So I think there's going to be a lot of like, or here we go. Cadaverous Canopy, destroy target artifact, enchantment, or creature with flying. If that permanent's mana value is 3 or less, proliferate.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, that's just like easy money, right? Oh, I kill your little thing, and now you die.
Yep.
So, yeah, but like I'm interested to see if this comes together.
Well, we'll find out.
We will.
The white black. What's white black?
We've got Vivisection Evangelist for 3 white black for a 4/4 with Vigilance. And it has Corrupted. When it enters the battlefield, an opponent has 3 or more poison counters, destroy target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. So,
Doing corrupty things.
yes, you're doing corrupted stuff. What was it? It was toxic and corrupted synergies.
Ooh.
This is a huge payoff for getting to corrupted.
Yeah.
Now, it has the super awkward thing of if you haven't got to corrupted, it's bad.
Yeah, but if you have, it's like a guaranteed 2-for-1.
Oh, it's well, like Skyfisher Spider wasn't a 2-for-1 because they had to sack something. That was like the best uncommon in the last set.
Yeah.
Right? Like this could very easily be the best uncommon in this set. Like if getting to 3 poison counters is trivial.
Yeah. Well,
Right?
think about how good Chupacabra was. This is 1 more mana. It has vigilance. It's twice as big, and it tags planeswalkers.
Yeah, no, you have to do a little bit of work on the front end, but
Yeah.
it shouldn't be that hard.
Yeah, I don't think so. Like we said, a lot of these mechanics seem like they're kind of freebies, so
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be too hard, especially by turn 5 or 6 when this comes down. You should have gotten a couple swings in.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of it is what is it? Like getting that first counter is gonna be like the difficult thing, and then getting the next 2 will be more straightforward with, again, random proliferate stuff. There's like a black removal spell that's like, hey, kill a thing, proliferate.
Yeah, aren't there a couple cards that like just give your opponent a poison counter too?
There is a blue one that's just
I
like
think there's a green one too.
And then there's like a black one where like they lose 2 life, you draw 2 cards, and they get a poison counter or something. Here it is.
Yeah.
You draw 2 cards and lose 2 life. Each opponent gets a poison counter.
Yeah, I think there's a green one as well. I'm trying to find it now.
There's
Maybe
a
there's
blue.
one in each color. Yeah, the fight spell. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. Each opponent gets a poison counter.
Yeah, so like get that first one, and then like
Yeah.
randomly proliferate a
I wonder
counter or
if that's a
two.
cycle. Are there one in white and red?
Um, I did not see them, but I wasn't looking super hard.
Yeah.
And what's hard, and like maybe this is just me, is like the cards are so wordy now that like some of that stuff like I'm gonna like miss.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, oh, I guess buried in there was like you get a poison counter.
Yeah.
It's like I missed that.
Yeah, I don't see one. I don't see one.
Okay.
At least not in white. I don't know about red.
But yeah, you
Not
have enough
important.
ways to get a few poison counters, and like this is worth putting in the work
Mm-hmm.
to get to turn it on,
Yeah.
because like that is just a very strong ability. So
Yep.
yeah, no, I'm in for this if you can consistently turn it on, which I think you can.
Yeah, I think so too. And this deck is probably not gonna try and poison your opponent out of the game.
No.
I don't know that it has the tools to do that. I think it just wants to turn on the corrupted stuff and use corrupted for value.
Yes, exactly.
Next up, we have blue and red. These are surprise, surprise, instants and sorcery matter.
Wow.
This time with oil counters, though.
Mm.
So we have Serum Core Chimera, 2 red or 2 blue-red for a 2/4 flyer. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put an oil counter on Serum Core Chimera. Remove 3 oil counters. Draw a card. Then you may discard a non-land card. When you discard a card this way, Serum Core Chimera deals 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker. Activate as a sorcery.
Okay. Seems fine.
Yep. In limited, this is pretty tough to pull off, I think. Like, to have your payoff be after your 3rd spell cast, like, you got to run a super high density of non-creature spells.
But again, like you've got, I think there's some cards that are just like randomly proliferate. Like again, Serum Snare, and so like it would trigger to put the counter on this,
And then
and then
proliferate.
and then proliferate. So like the cards that give you like kind of a free proliferate are
Yeah.
going to like really like pop off with these. Also, we have Thrumming Bird back.
Yes.
So, like, again, it's a lot of, like, get the first counter on it and then try to proliferate your way to the rest. So, but you are right. Like, it is hard to, like, you get to draw a card, discard a spell,
Right.
and then you get to deal 3 to something. It's like, that's an awful lot of work for not really kill
Deal
a thing.
3 to something.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, it can't hit players, so.
Yeah, like you can't even like pile it up and be like, all right, we're gonna like machine gun you down.
Yeah. It's also, like, not super off rate either, though. Like, a 2/4 flyer for 4 isn't good, but it's not.
Yeah,
It's not that far out of like,
Yeah.
where you should be.
I agree, but it just feels, I don't know, it feels kind of meh.
Yeah.
All right,
Yep.
so what do we got for the next one here?
Black green is toxic and reanimation synergies.
Okay,
And we have Necrogen Rot Priest here. 2 black green for a 1/5. It has Toxic 2. And whenever a creature you control with Toxic deals combat damage to a player, that player gets an additional poison counter. And you can pay 1 black-green to give a creature you control with toxic death touch until end of turn. So you're incentivizing your opponent to not block with
Mm-hmm.
threat of activation. And then also it gives them extra poison counters. So this deck is looking to kill your opponents with poison, whereas the white-black was just looking to turn on corrupted. Now,
Yeah.
I'm sure this deck is going to have some corrupted stuff as well, but I think this deck is looking to kill with toxic.
Agreed. They're trying to like. I mean, this guy hits for 3 poison
Yep.
counters.
Yep.
Like that's a lot, right?
Mhm.
That's a 4-turn clock. It's like effectively a 5/5.
Yep. It also has a really big butt, so it wears its death touch pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably going to kill whatever it's in combat with and more than likely survive instead of just trade.
I have never heard "Where's his death touch?" Well, I like it. I like it.
Yeah. Got to coin these things.
Yeah, gotta get him. Gotta get it on the ground floor.
That's right.
So there's also like we were talking about like random proliferate stuff. We have like thirsting roots, which is a lay of the land, search for a basic, but also you could proliferate. Right. So like you have that card because you want to like fix your mana, but like again, like oh you're at 8 poison counters. Oh I guess you're at 9. I'll draw another thing and kill you.
Yeah.
So there's enough like stuff like that that's just again free. That this seems reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
Again, art commentary. I am the great Cornholio. I don't know what the second arms are doing, but that's what the first arms are doing for sure.
True.
So,
Man, you're focused on the art this set.
hey, is it like it looks like
I hadn't even noticed how sick of a piece that Nahiri was until you said something.
yeah.
It's
Hey,
like wasted on a common.
wasted on a common. All right. I would like to introduce you to what will be the worst archetype in this set. Red white aggro equipment. The aggro will be good. It has been good in like every set recently. The equipment is always bad.
Yeah, I mean, what this archetype has going for it is for Mirrodin. The equipments are creatures.
Yes.
So,
So that could
helps.
save it.
yep.
Right, but it is hard to pile a bunch of equipment up onto your thing and then, the active treason also blows up all the equipment.
Right. Yeah, that's
Or,
awkward.
yeah.
It's also 4 mana, so it's not very good.
This is true. It might not get played.
Yeah.
But, yeah, like, this archetype rarely makes it in limited. Right? I could see where it devolves into the very best for Mirrodin equipment.
Yeah.
And, like, other creatures, and you just, like, beat down. Right? Like, so Blade Hold War Whip. Ugh. 1 red white for an equipment for Mirrodin, so you get a 2/2. And equipped creature has double strike, and equipped abilities you activate of other equipment cost 1 less to activate. So a 3 mana 2/2 double strike is like great for that. And that wears a trumpet blast really well.
It does.
Right. So like, it may end up being more that like you're using the for Mirrodin stuff, the equipment, not because it's like reasonable equipment,
Right.
but because it is just artifacts to make your pump spell cheaper. I also guess like you have the might tokens, so you have a bunch of like 1/1s that again like getting trumpet blasted. So
Yeah,
I think
they're also free bodies to hold equipment.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, I will say there's part of me that's like, that stupid Metalwork Colossus deck. This makes it so all your punchy punch things equip for free.
That's true.
And it blocks. And it has a CMC of 3 for Mr. Punchy Punch himself.
That's right.
So everything's coming up Millhouse here. It's like, oh, what was that Dex problem? Other than it was awful, it just played stuff that wasn't able to block or pressure. Now your equipment blocks and pressures a little bit. All right, and then we have you did not do the fair man justice. Green blue. From the article, James tried to edit it to make it sound not as crazy. Stompy toxic, proliferate, and ramp. So
Stompy toxic, proliferate, ramp.
Yes, so we either have 0 archetypes or all of them. Right, well, what's your archetype? All of them, so you have no archetype? Check.
Yes. So our green-blue archetype is 5-color good stuff?
Yeah, it never happened before.
Yeah.
So we've got Tainted Observer, 1 blue-green, flying for a 2/3. Toxic 1. And whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay 2. If you do, proliferate.
Seems pretty good.
It does. I mean, I guess the ramp is that you need to pay 2 more for all of your creatures.
Yeah, I don't know where the ramp comes in. Or the Stompy, for that matter.
Yeah, I know. I mean, what did I just scroll by? Some, 4/4 haste toxic. There you go. 3, green, for a, Tyrannix Atrocity. At common, it's a haste 4/4 with toxic 3. That feels like a stompy creature.
Yeah. That's fair. You don't look at the signpost and think that, though.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Also, there's no Chalice of the Void, so it's not truly stompy.
Right, yeah.
I know, this is, weird. It's it wants you to get big mana, but it also wants you to have cheap creatures so you can, pay the 2.
Right. Which is, like you said, weird. But I guess that makes all of your creatures big as long as they care about counters, right?
Mm-hmm.
Aren't there... Or maybe they're red. Aren't there cards that, their size is determined by the number of oil counters on them?
There is a green one that's experiment one.
Yeah, that's the one I was thinking.
There might be another one. There are a few things that in green, there's something Blastoderm. It's a Blastoderm knockoff.
Mm.
I don't know. It might be a rare that it has effectively vanishing where it has oil counters leaving it.
Yeah, I think that is a rare.
But you can proliferate more counters onto it to keep it around longer.
Mm-hmm.
And things like that. So here's a common Lattice Blade Mantis, 3 and a green for a 4/3. It enters when it enters the battlefield with 2 oil counters on it, and then when you attack, you can remove an oil counter to untap it and give it +1/+1. So you can proliferate counters onto it and make it a 5/4 with vigilance for 4 mana.
Yeah,
that's really good. But you also have the thing you're this is 3 mana, so fine. But then you gotta play a 2-drop and then trigger this on turn 4. That seems bad. But maybe in the late game. But there's this weird tension, right? When you have 8 lands on the battlefield, you probably don't have another creature to play.
Correct.
You're not oh, I'm gonna follow up with a creature next turn. So I don't know. It feels a little off, but I mean,
this works with tokens too. I know the creature tokens are mostly in white, but this works with tokens, so
fair.
It's something, I guess. All right, so that's all the limited archetypes.
Yeah, I am excited for to try to toxic someone, to try to poison people out.
Oh, it'll happen.
That's what I'm hoping for.
I'm sure it'll happen.
Yeah, I'm also sure it'll be against me and I'll be grumpy. Never.
All right, so let's talk about some real cards from the set. Not that these weren't real cards, but not strictly limited.
Not
First up,
strictly limited.
we have the white Phyrexian Obliterator, the Phyrexian Vindicator.
Mm-hmm.
White, 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 white for a 5/5 with flying. If damage would be dealt to Phyrexian Vindicator, prevent that damage. When damage is prevented this way, Phyrexian Vindicator deals that much damage to any other target.
So does this just secretly have unblockable?
I mean, Phyrexian Obliterator secretly has unblockable.
True. But I mean, like, block. Okay, I'll kill your thing and I'll still, like, deal however much damage to you. I guess, like, oh, I believe you jumped with a 1/1, so fine. You only take 1 instead of 5. So I guess that makes it so you would block. But, yeah, like, there are some combinations with this card. We could Starve Extinction it.
You could. Blasphemous Act is pretty good.
Yeah.
There is the red. Is it the red Dominus? Doubles all damage by sources you control or something, right?
Yeah. And, like, if you have 2 of them, then they go infinite. If you go, like, Vindicator, ping a Vindicator, ping a Vindicator, and then you just get to pick to... what's the doubling? Then you get to pick to kill your... It's only 3 cards, 2 of which are the same card. Easy.
They get really angry at each other and then, like, explode on your opponent.
Yeah.
No, you first. No, you first. No, you first.
It just goes back and forth. I love it.
Yeah. It's like Spider-Man pointing at Spider-Man.
Yeah. You hit me. No, you hit me. I don't know. Johnny, he keeps hitting me. There you go. I will turn this interplanar spaceship back around if you don't stop fighting, kids.
Yeah.
Seems fine. Like, it's in this weird spot where, like, it's, like, 4 mana seems like too much to play in the white aggressive decks.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big thing.
Oh, it's huge. Like, it's huge.
5/5 flyer is massive, and that's super undercosted for 4 mana. But like you said, really the only mono... Like, there's no big white deck like there is a big red deck, right?
Yeah.
So if you're playing mono white, which you are if you're trying to cast white, 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 you're not playing this. Like, maybe you're playing one as a top end, but then, like, you're not making use of what it does.
And, like, unlike Obliterator, like, this, like, I'm going to chump block it, and then they only take 1. Like, I'm going to chump block it with a 1/1, and they take 1. That is so much less punishing than I'm going to chump block this. It's like, well, it has trample, so no.
Yeah.
And then... Not only does the thing I just you just blocked with die, give me something else.
Yeah.
Right, like this.
So this is also flying, which makes it a lot harder to jump block.
Fair. I don't know, like it seems like fun, but it also seems like it might not have a home.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's going to be his problem, is it doesn't have a home.
And, like, it's not a card that, like, you can competitively build around.
Right.
To be like, oh, you're so good, I'm going to give you a home. Mm-hmm. It's like, no. But I guess you could have, like, you know, your ultimate, like, you have 4 of these. What is it? True Fire Captain is the hybrid one that does
Brash Taunter.
Brash Taunter. You're just like, you just play this into Brash Taunter into anything that deals damage to stuff and just kill your opponent.
Hour Devastation.
Yeah. Just like here, take
down the house.
10. Yeah.
Yep.
So, but like that's not like a good competitive deck.
Right. Might be a fun deck, but
yeah. So
comboing your 4 and 5 mana cards with your 5 and 6 mana cards is probably not a recipe for a win.
No, but I cast a Brother's Hood on 3. Like, it doesn't matter.
You didn't have your Vindicator out then, did you?
Yeah, half the 3 drops have 4 toughness anyway, so that doesn't really do anything.
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, I don't know if it's going to have a home. But this guy.
Yeah. This guy. What's this guy?
Skrelv? Defector Mite? A good
Skrill.
Skrillex, Defector Mite.
Skrillex.
Wait for a 1/1 legendary artifact creature, Phyrexian Mite. Toxic 1. He can't block, pouring out for the homie. 1 white Phyrexian mana, so just Phyrexian white. There you go. Choose a color. Another target creature you control gains Toxic 1 and Hexproof from that color until the end of the turn. It can't be blocked by creatures of that color this turn. So this card is going to see play in a couple, I think, places. One, it is the Pioneer, Mother of Runes, Giver of Runes.
Yeah, doesn't quite give protection, but it gives most of what protection does.
Yeah, like, so, like, you can't save your thing from, like, an Anger of the Gods.
Right.
It doesn't, like, prevent damage if it's not
Right.
targeted, but it does prevent, targeted removal, and it pushes it through, kind of like protection. Instead of being free, it does cost effectively probably 2 life most of the time. Because the kind of deck that wants to play this wants to go like 1-2. Now, okay, I'll try to protect my 2-drop. Or really what happens is you go 1 and they kill this.
Right.
Right. So I think it'll see play in like any kind of deck that wants that Mother of Runes, like the white aggressive decks effect. 2, in toxic decks, if there is a toxic deck, this is great. We learned that James is very smart. Not that we learned that, we knew that. That he figured out that toxic stacks. So if you have a toxic creature and then you target it with this, it gets another instance of toxic.
Yep.
So if you have something with toxic 1 and you target with this, it has toxic 1 twice. So it would deal 2 poison counters.
Correct. And if you give it to that guy that we talked about,
Jawbone
in
Duelist?
the limited archetypes,
Oh, that one, yeah.
that gives extra poison counters, then it would give extra poison counters twice.
Yes.
Which is fun.
For each instance of toxic. And then the other thing I was thinking is this is just a bonkers card in those like mono white artifact decks. Right? Like it triggers your Patchwork Automaton. It then like protects your Patchwork Automaton. You can find it with Ingenious Smith. It just kind of does everything you want to do. Like, I know that like Ginger Brood is cool and all, but this seems this seems better in terms of like its utility. Now, if you're like the all that glitters, like just like steal wins by making an 8/8 unblockable Ginger Brute one turn, fine, different deck. But I think this like has a home in those like kind of artifact decks. It might be a little. Maybe trying to play a slightly longer game and be more interested in like protecting their Patchwork Automaton.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but this card is interesting. Ooh.
Yeah, next up we have Blade of Shared Souls. Moving on from white into blue. This is 2 and a blue for an equipment with 4 Mirrodin, which means it comes with its very own 2/2 red rebel creature token attached to this. When Blade of Shared Souls becomes attached to a creature, for as long as it remains attached to it, you may have that creature become a copy of another target creature you control. And it has equip 2. So it's a 3-mana clone that brings its own body, and then you can reuse the clone if it dies, which is kind of a lot for the basically going rate of 3 mana.
Yeah, so it is just like you said, the 3-mana clone. It is it
Mirrorpool Mimic?
You control? Yeah, it is Mirrorpool Mimic. I guess is the most recent one, and the fact that it's only 2, is pretty good. Right, so basically, like any creature you play can be the best creature that you have for 2 mana.
Yeah, and like for the rest of the game, basically.
Yeah. Right, now, like, your whatever creature this is attached to, like, gets sad and goes back to its regular self. But, like, that's fine. Yeah, no, it seems... I'm trying to figure out how it plays out, right? So like you play a 5/5, and then you move this to something else, and now you have another 5/5, and like it
Yeah.
effectively has haste. Then
Right.
you just have to make sure that you kind of have multiple creatures.
Yeah, you need like this and two creatures, one of which you want to copy.
And then what is the I guess if you would kill the original creature, right? Yeah, you'd have to, right? So even if you like you play this and you copy your 5/5, they have to kill the original 5/5 because if not, then your next creature becomes the 5/5 again because of this, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes. Okay. So
Yeah.
like you always kind of are left with your best creature
Yeah.
if you're able to make the copy.
Yep.
So yeah, I again like
I don't think it's a fantastic card, but
no,
I think it's
it's
better than
neat.
what we've had that did this in the past. So I
Yeah, I
figured it
mean,
was worth talking
it's
about.
neat. I don't know. It's hard because you like look at standard and you're like, what can this do? But then
Yeah.
like you think about like Pioneer or Explorer, right? If you go like Patchwork Automaton into Blade of Shared Souls and make
Mm,
another Patchwork Automaton,
yeah.
like you did it, right? You've got two things with Ward, two that are like impossible to kill and are going to get huge over the next two turns. Like that's great.
Yeah. I mean, they're definitely not going to kill both of them, right?
No, they can't. Like not in
Yeah.
like any reasonable time frame.
Yeah.
Because like I have to eat my entire turn to kill this. You do. Oh.
Right.
Have to eat my entire next turn to kill the other one.
Hmm.
So yeah, I don't. Again, it's hard. Like I don't know where this goes.
Yeah. And
Right,
maybe it
but
doesn't go anywhere. Like I said, I just thought it was probably the best version of this we've had since Phantasmal Image.
yeah, probably. Because I guess the equip is like Phantasmal Image.
Yeah. But you do need another body.
You do.
But that body can be some garbage construct if you want it to be.
Anything. A might that can't block, now it can block.
That's right. Anything is possible with the Blade of Shared Souls.
Also, real quick, the we've talked often about like how they've just stopped caring about how you track stuff in paper.
Right, yeah.
Like this is just so. What is it again? Like
It's that.
if you're playing in paper, like make sure you have like some way to like track what you have. This is like even worse than the Scarab God issue.
Yeah,
When it's like, is it a zombie? It's like at least that you could like take the original card and put an overlay on it.
right.
This is just like, what is that a copy of again? That it died 4 turns ago. Let me take it out.
Yeah,
On Arena, it'll
very,
be easy. It'll just like become that card.
yeah. With this equipped to it. Mm-hmm. Yep. Awkward otherwise, though.
Yes, very awkward.
Next up, we have Distorted Curiosity. 2 and a blue for a sorcery. Draw 2 cards. But it's not just divination, because
No.
this spell also costs 2 less to cast if an opponent has 3 or more poison counters. So this is 2/3 of an ancestral.
Mm-hmm.
If you have corrupted.
It is all a question of how easy it is to get to 3.
Right.
And so, like, let's say a deck like Modern Infect. Not that it's like really been a deck for a bit. Thanks, Modern Horizons. But like, you know, there are definitely games where you get to like 5 or 6 poison counters, and then like things stall out.
Yeah.
Right, like this could be like a sideboard card in a deck like that, where like, hey, in the control matchups where I know it's gonna be a struggle to finish them off, I bring these in. I know I'm gonna get to like, 6, 7 poison counters.
Yeah.
Then this is just gonna be like 1 mana refill my hand,
Right.
right, and like try to get back in the game that way to like find my threat and my protection spell. I don't know how it'll work in standard. Like, I think it's gonna be way easier to get the counters in green white.
Yeah, I mean, like when I was putting this episode together and I read this, I was thinking exactly what you just said. I wasn't really thinking of this
Oh,
card for standard or
excellent.
pioneer or anything. I was thinking about modern.
Great
So
lot.
good job.
Great minds. We did it.
That's right.
But
Four
yeah,
4 years. It took us 4 years to get here.
but I do think that like this could be like a modern like infect sideboard card. Like if you're
Yeah.
still holding on in the world of like instant speed, free flash, Path to Exiles, and
Yeah.
sorcery speed, 0 mana, deal 4 damages to all of your 1/1s.
Yeah.
Like this is a card that can help you dig out of that hole.
I think so.
So
Why don't you take this one? I think you mentioned it last week or the week before.
all right,
And
so
we didn't have a visual of it, so here's
Yeah.
the visual.
Ichor Moon Gauntlet, 2 and a blue for a mythic artifact that has. This is also officially the worst mythic to open in your limited deck. This is an F. Planeswalkers you control have 0 proliferate and minus. I do that's 12.
12, yep.
Take an extra turn after this one. So it is. It is. And there's more. I'm sorry. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, choose a counter on target permanent. Put an additional counter of that kind on that permanent.
So it's proliferate, but just for one counter on one thing.
It's kind of silly. It is the most super friendliest card to ever super friend.
Yep. Now, I know you said this is the worst mythic to open, but it's worth noting that this set has a cycle of rare planeswalkers.
It does.
So it does have more planeswalkers than normal.
True. It just feels like when you have a mythic that references planeswalkers, this is not a great recipe for your limited cards.
Yeah.
Right, if you have 2 planeswalkers, they just both go up +2 every turn. They don't do something else. But it's just like you can just rush to their regular ultimate or
neg 12.
their neg 12.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, and there's a lot of planeswalkers that like +1 because their ultimate is pretty powerful. And if you're just able to go like proliferate with 2 planeswalkers, and now you're like at the ultimate.
Yeah.
And you can be in a situation where the next turn you're like proliferate with 1, alt the other one, and keep it. And so now I say all this. This could very well just be like what is it called? A commander card. Right, where like, oh hey, I'm like the Bant Super Friends Pillow 40 deck, and now I'm going to take 45 turns in a row.
Yeah.
But like there is like an Explorer, there's like a Jeskai Planeswalker deck where like, you know, if you have, I don't know, if you play this into Wandering Emperor, into like Big Teferi, don't you just win the game?
Probably, yeah.
Right? Because, like, your Big Teferi puts a counter on your Wandering Emperor when it comes into play. And then, like, you just double plus or double 0, and they're both huge.
Yeah.
And then you alt your Teferi and the game's over.
Basically.
So, it feels like it can do some stuff, but, like, it doesn't feel like... So, I mentioned, like, a blue-white kind of, like, oh, Wandering Emperor into Teferi. But, like, it feels like you don't want, like, to be a control deck with this, because, like, you're not going to take off turn 3 to do nothing. Right? It almost feels like you got to be a dedicated, like, Planeswalker deck, not a control deck that just has Planeswalkers to win.
Yeah. I mean, this does play pretty well with Narset, though. Like, Narset takes down twice and then just, like, sits around and doesn't really do anything but prevent your opponent from drawing extra cards. And this lets it do something.
Yeah, I mean, you proliferate twice and then you get the down ticker again.
Right.
So, or like the Wandering Emperor, when the Wandering Emperor has to plus on nothing,
Right.
right? Like, oh no, I guess I'll put 2 counters on things. I'll put a
Yeah.
counter on Wandering Emperor and a counter on something else on my Teferi, on my Narset.
Yeah.
So, but like, yeah, like, I don't know what you would cut from the control decks to put in cards that does stone nothing
Yeah.
when you
I don't
play
know.
it. But like, yeah, I could see like a, rush to ultimate kind of like, I'm gonna play a bunch of planeswalkers, and then no counter spells. Like, my removal is planeswalkers, and I'm gonna like try to ramp into planeswalkers in this.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we have Phyrexian Arena. One black for an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, you draw a card and lose a life. Now, this card is a reprint from, I'm sure everybody already knows this. It's a huge Commander staple. The reason I wanted to talk about it is because I don't play a whole lot of Commander. And when I got back into Magic was during the reign of mono black control, like Theros standard, original Theros. And that deck played Underworld Connections, which was worse Phyrexian Arena, basically.
Yeah. Had to like tap a land.
Yeah. Well, it enchanted the land and
Yeah.
then gave the land the ability. And that card was like very good in that deck. Like, it played multiple copies. It was very good. I don't like, is Phyrexian Arena even playable in constructed?
I don't know, because like the 3 mana slot in current mono black is what's he called?
Pretty clogged up.
Yeah. You have Lily, you have Graveyard Trespasser.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Now, you could play a different deck where you're more controlling. Right? And like this with a Shieldred, like you just gain 1 life.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I think it's a different deck if you have to cut Graveyard Trespasser to make it work.
Right.
But also, like, I don't know, we get card advantage from so many other places now.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't think that you need it.
is this like slow, repeatable card draw worth it or good enough? That is a good
No, I don't
question.
think so.
Uh,
Yeah, and like, that's really the only reason I wanted to talk about it. I don't think it's particularly exciting, or obviously it's not new. Like I said, it's been around for a long time and is a staple in Commander.
yeah, but like, what if you were to say, like, I'm going to like play more removal and not play like Tenacious Underdog, or play Path to Peril for the like kill little creatures ability, and I'm like the Phyrexian Arena deck. I mean, maybe that works, but it also like doesn't synergize great with Lily. I'm getting extra cards to throw in the graveyard.
Well, I mean, that is something. Like, if you're looking to play a really long game with Lily, like, that's not
Terrible.
You get to pick one of like the best of the top 2 cards of your library.
Fair.
Like, that's not bad.
Yeah, but
And I
it
guess
is.
that deck might be more of an obliterator deck also.
Yeah, it could be. If you're like, I'm not going to Shieldred, I'm going to Obliterate.
Yeah.
Also, just for the record, like, they banned Meat Hook Massacre. Like, would anything other than Swamp be playable in Standard if they hadn't?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
not.
I don't know, like, how, like, all of these black cards kind of got out the door at the same time. It's just weird. It's like, oh, hey,
I agree.
unconditional removal spell that costs you 2 life, sold. Slightly conditional removal spell that costs you no life, sold. What was one of the best planeswalkers of all time? In.
Yep.
Strangely, a 4/5 that like is unbeatable if it stays on the battlefield for 2 turns. You get that too.
Yep.
Weird rare that like is random graveyard hate. Sure, like go. It's just odd. Like,
Have a ball.
all of these cards like are like in at the same time.
Yeah.
They had to ban one, and black is still like the best deck or one of the best decks.
By a mile.
It's like, did you guys play test this at all?
Yep.
nah, we're good. All right.
Yep.
The man, the myth, the legend.
Here he is.
The Phyrexian Obliterator. Black, black,
We've mentioned
black,
it like
black.
4 times this episode already, so it's about time we talk about it.
Phyrexian Horror. Trample. 5/5. Whenever a source deals damage to Phyrexian Obliterator, that source's controller sacrifices that many permanents. So...
Does not go in the same deck as Vindicator. You definitely don't want to Star of Extinction this.
No. No. I'm gonna say, like, it was hard enough for a red deck to beat Shieldred, right? Like, you've got to play, like, specific, like, removal, right? So you board in your 5 damage spells to kill their Shieldred, and they board in, like, Obliterators. And what do you they, like, on turn 4, they tap 4 mana, and you're like, oh, yeah, I got my removal spell, and they play this, and you're just like, can never beat it.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Just pick them up. Can't deal 5 damage to it because you just Armageddon yourself. I will block with my 5/5. Excellent. Kill all of your lands. I will beat you with whatever ham sandwich I have left over.
That's right. Doesn't matter what's left.
Yeah. Like, can't chump block it. Like, just... But it is, like, competing with Shieldred. And, like, just on sheer power level, Shieldred gets played everywhere. Obliterator has been legal this whole time. Obliterator's kind of a meme card.
Yeah, I mean, it pops up once in a while.
Every once in a while, but, like, it's not a card that people are like, oh, I've got to watch out for Obliterator.
Right.
Right? It's... Right? It dies to removal. That removal just can't have, like, red mana in it for the most part.
Yeah. Or be a fight spell.
Oh, that is the other meme to pull off. Is you Obliterator and then have it fight something. Obliterator, fight your thing. That'll die, and then please put all of your permanents in the trash can.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that is like, our mana's pretty good. We have some 1 mana fight spells. Turn 5, Obliterator, bonk you. Is pretty good.
Blizzard Brawl.
Blizzard Brawl. He's indestructible too, fool.
That's right.
Yeah. Now, we are asking a lot of our mana here, but we can get it done.
We have plenty of dual lands, though.
We do. So that might be the most fun use for this. Sadly, like, we don't have, like, a lore.
Right.
But yeah, like, I don't know, I wish there wasn't Shieldred. Because, like, this versus Shieldred probably wins.
Yeah, I mean, it's at least... Ooh, I can talk tonight. It's at least worth testing a split, though.
It is. I mean, and, like, I guess, like, all the red-black decks... And, like, older form, and, like, Pioneer and Explorer, like, maybe you try this out. They have some pretty wild mana costs. They play Invoke Despair. Also, another black card that is somehow in Standard. I don't know. I don't know how this happened.
All of the black mana symbols. Let's go.
All of the black mana symbols in the set at the same time.
Yep.
All right. Here we go. Shieldred's Edict. 1 on the black instant. Choose 1. Reads laundry list in 3, 2, 1. Each opponent sacrifices a non-token creature. Each opponent sacrifices a creature token. Each opponent sacrifices a planeswalker. Pick 1.
Yep.
So, Dear Sweet Merit Lage hasn't really been playable in Legacy in a while. And they were like...
I think it's just sealed its fate.
Exactly. Like, if the deck ever gets remotely close to good, like, there was a time where people played, like, Diabolic Edict. As, like, their Shieldred hate, but, like, you could, like, fetch up a Dryad Arbor, or you'd have, like, a random creature laying around. Nah,
Creature
that one.
Token.
Get that one.
Yep.
Crop rotation for Colony Garden? Like
Yeah.
dark
I mean, I
dark
guess that's
timeline.
what you got to do.
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons that edicts were bad or are bad is because your opponent like has a bunch of like garbage tokens, and you
Yeah.
can't make them sack their obliterator. Well, if their obliterator's their only non-token creature, you get it. Oftentimes edicts were bad because you had it and you were like, oh, they played a planeswalker. That's fine. Shieldred's edicts got you. You can get their planeswalker, right? Like, was Sudden Edict was the Modern Horizons one with split second,
Yeah.
right? Like it just gets a creature,
Right.
right? They like play a Teferi and you're like, oh, this card does nothing.
Yeah, I think like the next best one is probably Ingress Rampage.
That's the red black one.
Yeah, but it's sorcery speed. So
Yeah, like this just kind of does everything.
Yeah,
This is probably the best edict they've ever printed.
I agree. I am with you. That's why I figured we'd talk about it quickly.
Boo. Boo.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
All right. I didn't write down all of them. I should have. So all will be one. Typing right now to see if I can find them.
It's the garbage red mythic of the set. 3 red for an enchantment. Whenever one or more counters will be put, or whenever you put one or more counters on a permanent or player, all will be one deals that much damage to target opponent, creature an opponent controls, or planeswalker an opponent controls.
Yeah. So I am locked out of the Frank Karsten 20 combos in Phyrexia and all will be one. What's it called? Article. But the very first one is all will be one with Quest for Pure Flame.
Okay.
So Quest for Pure Flame. Oh God. So these went from God, people are dumb. These went from 25 cents to now $2.50.
Ooh.
It's red for whenever a source you control deals damage to an opponent, you may put a quest counter on Quest for Pure Flame. Remove 4 quest counters from Quest for Pure Flame. Sacrifice it. If a source you control would deal damage to a creature or player this turn, deals double that damage instead. So you can you deal a damage. This makes you put a counter on Quest. Or the damage puts a counter on Quest, which then makes all will be one deal damage, so on and so forth. And there's a few other combos with this is as well. See if we can find. Oh, there's this one. That was a Frank Karsten one. Come on. But there are a couple other ones. Not playable enough to make a stupid card from Zendikar go up 1,000%, right? Yeah. But could be fun. So I saw this today. This isn't an all will be one combo, but speaking of dumb combos, this is a Frank Karsten tweet. If you were to, in your opening hand, draw the Phyrexia Silex.
We're going to talk about that in a minute.
Okay, we are? Okay, so that's good. Good job, us. Well, I'll wait for that then. But there are a bunch of different combos that are probably C tier in modern and other formats for I will be one.
Yeah, but they're good against the odds decks.
Good against the odds decks. I think they're like fine. Like I'm gonna do a fun commandery thing.
Yeah.
Right, but again, I would not spend like $50 on all will be ones and think you're gonna like break it.
Yep.
But just keep that in mind. You could do some fun stuff.
Yeah. Next up, we have Gleeful Demolition. Single red mana for a sorcery. Destroy target artifact. If you controlled that artifact, create 3/1/1 red Phyrexian Goblin creature tokens. I don't know how good this is, but I think it's fun.
I mean, Kadaltha, We have all lost a game in our lives to Kadoltha Rebirth.
I own foils.
But we've all lost a game to Kadoltha Rebirth, right?
Yep.
Right? This is... It's... I don't know if it's better Kadoltha Rebirth.
Extra utility, right?
Yeah, well, the thing is... So, okay, for those of you who know, Kadoltha Rebirth is a red, as an additional cost, sacrifice an artifact, make 3 gobos. This, because it targets the artifact, your opponent can blow the artifact up from underneath you.
Mm-hmm.
Big set.
Yeah,
And
but
then you
you
get
can
nothing.
also tag your opponent's artifacts if you need to, though.
Yeah, you don't get little gobbo boys for that, but you at least
Right.
like have the ability to like blow up an ensnaring bridge or
Yeah.
something that was gonna kill you. So like it
The,
has extra utility for sure.
The other side of this is if you target an indestructible artifact, you get to keep your artifact and you get 3 1/1 red goblin creature tokens.
So like the bridges,
Mm-hmm.
Darksteel Citadel.
Yep.
Those are the 2 I was thinking of. Was like, oh yeah, you just like target your Darksteel Citadel.
Yep.
Where Kadoltha Rebirth, you can't do that because you have to sack the artifact as an additional cost.
Well, I mean, you could sacrifice your Darksteel Citadel.
But then you lose it. Where this, you get to just keep
Right.
it, and
Yep.
and you get the creatures.
3 1/1s for a red mana is a pretty good rate.
Yeah. Very good rate. Yes, I agree. Yeah. So, I don't know, like, you could definitely have an artifact-based, like, go-wide deck where you're just, like, a bunch of goblins and, like, goblin grenades and, like, how much better are those decks when you actually, like, kind of always have a Kadoltha Rebirth in your hand?
Yeah.
Like, pretty good. So yeah, again, a fun card. It might be like a tier 2-ish kind of thing where you're like this and Goblin Bushwhackers, like the 8-whack decks.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the fact that you can like get a random thing is good as well.
Yep. I thought it was a neat card. Neat design.
Yes.
Another red card with a neat design is Sawblade Scamp. 1 red mana for a 1/1 with haste. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put an oil counter on Sawblade Scamp. And you can remove an oil counter from Sawblade Scamp to have it deal 1 damage to each opponent. So it's a Raging Goblin with upside for casting spells. And it's at common.
It is. Like, I don't think it's as good as the other versions of this that are at common.
Like...
So there's Thermo Alchemist.
Well, right, but like Thermo Alchemist isn't an aggro creature. It's like only in a Spells Matter deck. Like the reason I thought this card was good is because it's an aggro creature that when swinging with a 1/1 is no longer relevant, like on turn 3 or 4, turns into a pinger. Whereas things like Thermo Alchemist only do the thing.
Okay, like I was thinking of it more as like a pinger first, but like I could see that where you like, I guess like a curve of like this into Monastery, Swift Spear, Lightning Bolt, and like Pioneer, or not Pioneer, gosh, well Pioneer, but what is it called? Like Popper is probably pretty reasonable.
Yeah. I don't know. It was kind of a unique mashup that I don't think we've seen before.
Yeah, like the like Raging Goblin plus then like late game utility.
Yeah.
But it does require a very special kind of deck, right? Like you have to have a lot of non-creature spells to make it relevant, which is why my head went to the...
I mean, mono red prowess is a deck already.
It is, yeah.
It was. I guess I don't know if it still is, but like this is a card that deck like might be interested in.
Yeah.
It doesn't get big like Swift Spear does, but like arguably this is more useful in that deck than Soulscar Mage.
Mm-hmm.
So worth looking at, I think. It's my kind of card.
And it could definitely be like a popper card.
Yeah. What do we got next here?
Venerated Rot Priest. Green for a 1/2 toxic 1. Whenever a creature you control becomes the target of a spell, target opponent gets a poison counter. So, first, any spell, even yours, now has like your opponent gets a poison counter when it targets one of your creatures. So your pump spells and your protection spells also give you poison counters, or give them poison counters. Again, like, I feel like they might just be like, here's the toxic deck.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, we have Lauren's Escape from the last set. We have Tamiyo's Safekeeping as, like, the green and white protection spells. And this guy's just like, sweet. When you cast that, I will give them a poison counter.
Yep.
And, like, you know, a couple hits with Toxic, a couple protection spells, and your opponent's dead.
Yeah, and like realistically, those games, I think you're going to end up with a whole bunch of concessions from having locked your opponent out.
Mm-hmm. Where, like, they know if you cast any spell,
yeah,
you win.
Yeah.
And they're just like, I'm at 7 poison, and you have a fistful of cards, I'm just going to lose.
Yeah.
I saw there was a Goldfish video where they were like, oh, this could see play in, like, Modern Infect. I don't know about all that.
Well, I don't know. Maybe
it could.
Like if you like mutagenic growth, then turns into free giant growth, basically, right?
Yeah, but like I think that is like, I guess the line of like Glistener Elf go. Then you play this, and then then I guess you like just try to get in.
Yeah.
And do the thing like, and you know, double mutagenic growth, and then like another spell wins the game probably. So maybe you can do it that way, but it's but I don't know. Again, we're talking like this deck is still a deck. I don't know what you cut from the deck from 4 years ago.
Right.
I wish I knew, but it could be interesting. But I do think that there's enough just like cheap toxic stuff that this works, and I don't know. I do like having that like line of attack in like the newer formats, right? Like, hey, like, sorry we power crypt infect out of Modern. Here's like fixed infect for Pioneer. Enjoy.
You know what else I just thought of is I think every single set that we've had for the last like 2 years has had a version of black mana. When target creature you control dies this turn, return it to the battlefield, tapped or whatever.
Yeah.
Like this plays awesome with that, right?
Yeah, they just like your stuff just comes back and gave him a poison counter.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. I mean, but like I guess that's not much different than like, you know, Tamiya Safekeeping.
Yeah, that's true.
Or it kind of does the same thing. Like you end up with your thing.
Yeah.
But no, like this will win games that you have like no business winning. Like when your opponent's got like 4 blockers and you're just like, oh, oops, I drew this. Yeah. Like protection spell, you're dead.
Right.
And they're like, oh, well, that sucked.
Yeah.
Like I had the board stabilized, so you could never attack again. It's like, yeah, but I can't do this.
Yeah.
All right, what do we got here? Oh, this is one of mine.
This is one of yours.
So, Vile Spawning is 2 and a green for create a 3/3 green Phyrexian Beast creature token with Toxic 1, which is fine. But it has Corrupted as long as an opponent has 3 or more poison counters. Viral Spawning, in Viral Spawning is in your graveyard, it has Flashback 2 and a green. So, we mentioned that a few things had affinity for artifacts. There is a one-off random, what is it called? Battle Cry card. Mm-hmm. And now we have a random one-off Flashback card. Now, Flashback may have moved on to Team Deciduous.
It's looking that way.
Right. But this is kind of a departure for how they typically do this kind of thing. Right. they normally wouldn't like put flashback on it. They would like just basically take the reminder text and make that the card text.
Right.
But something I saw in like a tweet or an article was one of the designers was like, this allows this card to be more backwards compatible. Right?
Okay.
Like if you had a deck that just needed an extra flashback card. Right? Like, you have 4 Call of the Herds, but you want more Call of the Herd.
Yep.
Now you have more Call of the Herds. Or like something that pays you off if you flash back a spell.
Yeah, something that cares about the keyword specifically.
Now this card works with that card as
Right.
opposed to if they just wrote out all of the text, it wouldn't.
Right.
Similar to like Tireless Tracker before the errata.
Yeah.
If there was a card that was like, when
Whenever
there's
landfall triggers.
Yeah, whenever a landfall triggers, do this thing. Well, now Tireless Tracker has a landfall trigger as opposed to all of the words for landfall trigger, but not landfall.
Or like they did with Surveil.
Right? And like
Consider has the text from Surveil, but not Surveil or whatever.
yeah.
But I
And
guess now it has Surveil.
now it has Surveil. But like that's good and if you're a degenerate and you're like, I want to play the blue-black Surveil deck.
Yeah.
Oh god, what was the name of that awful card? The enchantment.
Disinformation campaign.
Yes. Yes, and you're like, man, I wish I had more ways to trigger my disinformation campaign because I hate myself and others. And I was like, oh, now Consider does it. Neat.
Yeah.
Or what was the blue one that has flashback? It's like just a blue. Look at Surveil 3.
I don't know.
Whatever. That card didn't have Surveil, so now it does. Or like Demir Spybug now like would work with Surveil. So just the fact that they're trying to think of like, hey, these cards also work with previous cards that we've designed, and we can make them work better. Is nice in terms of like, well, we know what we want it to do, and we have a keyword for it, but it'll be too hard. I think the ship has sailed on like, oh, what about complexity for the new player? As you pointed out, we have a common that has like a like paragraph of like 8-point font.
Right. And then some reminder text on
and
top
then
of
some
that.
reminder text is like, yeah, we've stopped caring about complexity for the new player.
Yeah.
So just the fact that they're like, yeah, this works better if it says flashback, and we're gonna do that. Or plated whatever what I just keep referring to as the trumpet blast.
The trumpet blast.
Having affinity for artifacts as opposed to plated onslaught. Having affinity for artifacts as opposed to the text for Gear Seeker Serpent.
Yeah.
Where it's like, this costs 1 less to cast for each artifact you control. It's like, oh, it's affinity, it's fine. Or Emery. I guess Emery is a more modern example.
Yeah.
Right? Emery has affinity, but they didn't keyword it as such. Now I think they would just keyword it that way.
I think so too. And we saw that in this set. So.
Yeah.
Next up is the Filigree Silex. 2 mana for a legendary artifact. Tap it, put an oil counter on the Filigree Silex. Sacrifice the Filigree Silex. Or tap and sacrifice the Filigree Silex. Destroy each non-land permanent with mana value equal to the number of oil counters on the Filigree Silex. Or you can tap and remove 10 oil counters from the Filigree, or from among permanents you control. So not the Filigree Silex. And sacrifice the Filigree Silex. It deals 10 damage to any target. So when I saw this, I was thinking it's kind of like a better Ratchet Bomb. It's just like strictly better, right? Other than the fact that it's legendary.
So, yeah. So let's say you are a Karn deck, and you have 1 Ratchet Bomb in your sideboard. It's just better to have a Filigree Silex in your sideboard instead, because then the legendary text doesn't matter.
Right.
And maybe you dome your opponent for 10. And Ratchet Bomb doesn't get to do that. But if
it's among permanents you control, so you could dome your opponent out of 10 for 2 mana out of nowhere.
Yes. And also, it's not. But like if you had, let's say you were like a 4 Ratchet Bomb deck, right? Or you're colorless Eldrazi and it's 2018, and and you like are playing that deck in Legacy, and you have a bunch of Ratchet Bombs in your sideboard. Maybe you play 3 Ratchet Bombs and 1 Sylex, right? Like the first Filigree Sylex is always better than the first Ratchet Bomb.
Right.
It's just a question of, do you want to have 2 or 3? Right. And the answer might just be no. But if you're 1 Ratchet Bomb, you should just be 1 Sylex. So, now, speaking of things the Filigree Sylex can do, let us walk through a hand that Frank Karsten tweeted out.
Okay.
So, if your opening hand is double Monumental Facade, so this is a land that enters the battlefield with 2 oil counters. You can tap it and add colorless, and then you can remove an oil counter and put an oil counter on target creature or artifact you control. Fine. Okay. 2 of those, so they come with 2 oil counters, 2 Copperline Gorges, or really, 2 Copperline Gorges, a Filigree Sylex, a Miglaw's Maze Crusher, and then a Sulfum Mayhem Dominus. All right, so you could go. So the facades each have 2 oil counters. The Miglaw's Maze Crusher comes in with 5.
Okay.
So that's 9. You could ratchet up your Filigree Sylex, right? Now you have 10, and Sulfum doubles all the non-combat damage you deal to your opponent. So that is a clean 20 on turn 4. So you have to have the Sylex and you have to have the facades, because that's the easy way to get. And then people are like, oh, it doesn't have to be like anything else. Like, I think, because like if you played the Sylex on 2, you would get 2 activations of it. So you don't have to have something that has 5 counters on it. You could get them some other way. But yeah, so not that this is probably ever going to happen for anyone, but you can dream.
Sure.
It's not like awful.
Yep.
I know some random proliferate stuff. I mean, and like, you don't have to do it on turn 4.
Right.
You just have all this stuff. And like, Miglaw's is fine. It kind of sucks that he's a legend, but he's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there you go. We could just dome people. I mean, I don't know about you, but this sounds like some tomfoolery if I've ever heard of it.
It could be. We'll have to make sure my recording setup is up. Sorry for having to skip this week, guys.
That's all right. You got a new computer. You gotta work out all the bugs.
Yeah, I have to work out all the bugs.
It is fine.
All right, so we got one more card here, and I forgot to add it to my card file, so I'm gonna add it right now.
On the fly.
I don't think it added.
Oh no. Oh no.
Is it gonna add? Nope, it doesn't look like it's gonna add.
Oh no! I thought we had. Aren't we gonna talk about what's his name? Oh.
Did you want to?
Yeah, we should talk about what's his name.
Okay. Well, let me.
The brawler punchy guy.
Yeah, I don't have him in here either, so let me get both of these real quick.
All right, because like I even did extra homework for for that guy.
Well, let's talk about that guy first. You start talking, and I'll bring him up on the screen.
Tyvar.
Jubilant Brawler.
Thank you. It's 1 green-black for a Planeswalker, and it is at rare. I'm trying to remember. There it is. Quick on the fly. There we go. Right. I couldn't remember how much loyalty it had. It has 3 loyalty and has a static ability, which is what we really care about here. You may activate abilities of creatures you control as though those creatures had haste. +1, untap up to 1 target creature. -2, mill 3 cards, and you may return a creature card with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So, thing 1, Gwenna, right?
Yeah.
So you play your Gwenna, that gives you 2 mana, right?
Yep.
So you could, just spitballing here, you could play Tyvar, then play Gwenna, activate your Gwenna immediately to play Kinnan.
Oh, that's cute.
Not get Kinnan, untap Gwenna, and then just Aceract them into the ground. Turn 4, get wrecked nerd. Like,
That's right.
almost out of nowhere, right? You're just like, really turn 3, because like that deck is like Llanowar Elf into this guy, into Night. Right? Okay, so we got that. Tyvar into Prime Speaker Vanifair and any other creature on the battlefield.
Prime Speaker Vanifair. That's going back a ways.
Right? Prime Speaker Vanifair now has haste. And
Prime Speaker Vanifair is the birthing pod.
yeah.
Yeah, all right.
Right? So
And
like,
all of those creatures have haste.
yeah. So like, and like you could like, Prime Speaker, sack something, that should win you the game. Right? Like you should have your deck built that if I have a nerd, I win the game.
Yep, there's a chain that wins.
But if you don't, you get an untap you get to untap your Prime Speaker. So you get to go again.
Yep.
Right? So typically like Prime Speaker Vanifair lines is you play something that untaps a Prime Speaker, then you sack, and then that thing untaps a Prime Speaker. Oh man, but Tyvar makes it so Blink works as well. Since it gives them haste, so it like opens up like a whole new like you can just play things that that will blink a creature.
Yeah, you can play things that blink Tyvar also.
There aren't many of those.
Yeah.
They banned our boy, Felidar Guardian. But like, yeah, if you just have like if you only need like a creature and Prime Speaker Vanifair, right? You have to sack the creature, but Diabolic Intent is legal, right? If your deck is a pile of creatures, 4 Tyvars and 4 Diabolic Intents, I think you can find the other piece.
Well, you can also start the chain over with Tyvar's Neg 2.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like you sack like a 2-drop to go get Prime Speaker, and then you go from there.
Yep.
Right? Like you get to like 6 mana or whatever, and then go. Or but like, could you? Oh god, it'd be too many moving pieces. But like, Gwenna also casts Prime Speaker.
Yes.
Right. So like, you could be like Gwenna Kinnan combo with Aceract plus
with birthing pod. Yeah.
Right, like if you have the pod and you have like a Aceract in your hand, right, then you just go get the other piece you're missing with the pod.
Yeah.
Right, like elf into the pod, go figure it out. It could be interesting just smushing a bunch of like combo-y garbage together. And the fact that it like untaps a creature, you get like, multiple looks at it. It like, like I can't go elf into 2-drop and win and have something that untaps it too, but I can go. But once I have my 2, I can win. So I just have to untap my my Prime Speaker and then go. Or like, like the 3 I need is gone, but I can go 2 into a different 3, get that 2 back, and then figure it out from there. So, yeah, because like the The plus gives you effectively a creature that like blinks Prime Speaker.
Right.
So, yeah, it makes it so your lines, like, you don't have to play like Bounding Crisis or like other like
Hey,
bad things.
I've cast Bounding Crisis non-ironically before.
This is true. This is true, but I'm just saying, like, this card just is like, I am a combo boy. Figure out how to like combo with me.
No, I
And
think he's sweet.
yeah. So here's a
And at three mana, he's very comboable also.
yes, like it's not like it's 5 or 6 mana. It is very much like in that realm of like just easy peasy. Like I said, elf into this, and then like you get to untap your elf that first turn and cast something else.
Yeah, the world's your oyster.
Yeah, the world's your oyster. You can do it all. Let me see here. What is it? I just wanted to be sad for a second. How much has Prime Speaker Vanifer gone up and oh. It's still only $2.
Well, there you go.
So that's good. It's good to know.
Get in on that ground floor.
Get on that $2 ground floor. Yeah.
Yeah.
I am not encouraging anyone to put all of their savings into Prime Speaker Vanifers, but
Yeah, don't do that.
don't do that. No. But just saying. But yeah, like this just has combo potential, and we know I love me some combo potential.
No, I know you do. I
Yeah.
think he's sweet. Even
Yeah.
outside of combo potential, I think he's useful in Elf Ball and like
Oh, yeah,
can grind
like-
a little bit. And I think it's just a sweet card. It's a
Like-
cool design.
Green black elves, like you play this, and then like a lot of your elves are free,
Mhm.
and you're like your Heritage Druid, you just slam that and you tap it for a bajillion and win the game.
Mhm.
And then
And like can untap your Arch Druid for a bajillion more mana.
yeah, what is Leaf Crown Druid? Where you just get to like
Go get another one.
yeah, all your elves just like cantrip. You're like, oh man, I have
No,
Yes.
that's the new one. That's not Leaf Crown.
it's Leaf something, right?
I thought Leaf Crown was the old one that lets you go get another Lord.
Oh gosh,
Or no, that's Clan Caller.
yeah. Leaf Crown Visionary?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, okay. I think if this ever loads, it should be a Leaf Crown Visionary. Yes, Leaf Crown. I got part of it right.
Yep.
50%. I'd be a Hall of Fame baseball player. I got the Leaf Crown right. But like you just play this and you're able to kind of like combo elves and just like draw a bunch of cards. It takes more mana, but your Heritage Druid is at that point just Gaia's Cradle.
Basically.
Right? You draw that, you slam it, you tap it for like 8 mana, you untap it, play a bunch of stuff.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think Tyvar will do some fun things.
Yep. All right, we got one more card.
Hit me. Ooh. I've been banished behind the sword of Forge and Frontier. What does this sword do?
This is 3 mana for an equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has protection from red and green. When equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, exile the top 2 cards of your library. You may play those cards this turn, and you may play an additional land this turn with an equip of 2. I don't think that this isn't. I don't think it holds a candle to the original swords, but this is, in my opinion, the best of the new swords.
I mean, better than Hearth and Home? How dare
yeah.
you?
Yeah.
Yeah, like
And whatever the other new one was, the black red one,
that no one remembers.
something malice, whatever.
Yeah. Sword of what comes up for when I type sword of? here?
Sinew and steel.
Oh yeah, I think that was it.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. Sword of War and Peace, Hearth and Home, Feast and Famish, Truth and Justice,
Yeah, that's another one of the new ones, right?
Fire and Ice, Sinew and Steel.
Yeah.
It's the ones that you don't remember their names.
Yeah.
Just like bangers. Like, man, that was great. Light and Shadow, Body and Mind, the best limited sword. Yeah, so it is probably the best of the modern swords, but like we had this issue where like if you put fire and ice in standard right now, is it good enough?
Yeah, I don't know.
Right? Like we're in a different world where you can like tap 3 mana and look at your opponent and go like time walk go.
Right.
Right. And then the next turn you're like pay 2. Please don't have instant speed removal. And your opponent goes, I don't. Like that just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Right? Or like, oh hey, like I equipped my 2-drop. I'm like, cool, I played a shield druid, I'll block.
Yeah.
Eat your thing, and you will feel sadness and shame. And it's like, okay, thanks. Like I just like it's good. I do not argue that, but it's just like, is it good enough in 2023? Right? Yeah. Like, does it matter? Like, you're gonna open this in limited, and you're just gonna like every time you put it on a creature, you're just going to win the game.
Yeah.
Right? It's not gonna matter. It's gonna be like, all right, cool. I'm gonna smash you. I'm gonna like draw 2 cards and play a land, and yeah. But like, I don't know in constructed if it like works anymore, and that's sad, right? Like those cards were iconic for years, and this is maybe the closest to like being one of the old ones.
Mm-hmm.
I think that to me this reads as one ability, right? The exile the top 2 cards of your library. You may play an extra land this turn.
Yeah.
It just feels like it's one ability. Like
likely you're gonna play one of those lands.
Yeah, but no, what I mean is like, how can I, right? Like, fire and ice was like, what was it? Like deal 3, draw a card.
Mm-hmm.
Right, those felt like 2 distinct abilities. Like it feels like you could have put an extra ability on this card.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Like I know that like the red is the exile 2, and the green is like play an additional land. But it feels like there could have been, like, you know, as with all things, gain 3. Or, you know what I mean? Yeah. Just, like, something.
Fight spell or something.
Yeah. Like, as you're like, oh, it, like, deals damage, but, like, then you get, like, double red things. But, like, a green thing. Destroy an artifact or enchantment.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That might then be over the top. But, like, it just feels like it's one ability.
Fights a creature with flying.
Yeah, exactly. Destroy target creature with flying. Something.
No, it's got to fight it.
Fair. Punch it like right in the face.
Yeah.
So I think it's fine, but I just worry that there's like that's not the kind of magic we play again.
Oh, you're right.
There's been a ton of times where we've like this card's really cool, but I don't think we're allowed to play this kind of magic anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, basically every time.
Yeah.
This is why we do this show, though.
Because we're not allowed to play that kind of magic anymore.
Well, because it's fun to talk about this stuff, and
it is.
Maybe save people some wild cards and or store credit on pre-release weekend.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna get this Sword of Forge and Frontier. Pump the brakes.
Yeah.
I know. Sophie is $45 or whatever, but
Feast and Famine, buddy. Feast and Famine's where it's at.
Feast and Famine. Oh, Feast and Famine is $44. Yeah. And I thought I saw Sophie. So Feast and Famine is $44. That's the untap all the lands, right?
Yep.
And then, oh man, I remember when Sophie was like the sword.
Yep.
Well,
no longer.
The Double Masters version is 42.
Oh, okay.
And then. Yeah, I can't find the... Yeah, every version of Feast and Famine is over $45. So, Feast and Famine does win. Okay, fine.
Yep.
Sad times. It used to not be. Yeah, but
I'm kind of partial to that one.
The untap all the lands you control does do a lot of work.
It does, yeah.
I am playing Commander, and all I want to do is untap all of my lands and tap them again.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Oh, man. Do you want a Sword of Dungeons and Dragons?
No thanks. I think I have one.
It has protection from rogues and from clerics.
Well, good.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna read this card just because. Okay, so Sword of Dungeons and Dragons. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has protection from rogues and clerics. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, create a 4/4 gold dragon creature token with flying and roll a d20. If you roll a 20, repeat this process. This card could have been printed in any standard legal set in the last 3 years, and we
It
would
could
have.
not,
Why not?
because gold isn't a color.
I read gold as like
I know you
gold
did.
dragon, not that it is a that they're trying to make it a gold like. But there's
No,
ancient gold dragon.
Right, but ancient gold dragon isn't the color gold.
I guess yeah. I did not read it as the color gold, but
If you
everything
remember,
else
do you
in
remember
that.
Unstable?
Mm-hmm.
There was a gold dragon token.
I played zero
okay.
unstable, but like everything other than gold could have been in like any number of like standard legal sets.
Oh, for sure. It could have been an AFR.
Yeah. We went from meme to the meme is now the game very quickly.
Very quickly.
So anyway, I think is that all of our Phyrexia All Will Be One stuff?
That's all we got. I think we saved some time by not doing cycles. I don't think there were many cycles that were worth mentioning, so I didn't mention any.
Fair
And that
enough.
saved a bunch of time because those cycles
I
took
like
up a lot of time at the end of the show.
I like saving time.
Yeah,
So with all this, I think we got a show.
we have a show.
So if you would get us on social media, let us know what cards you're excited about, what cards you would like us to talk about, anything else, because we have another week before like the cards come out, right? I guess they come out. Yeah, they're not going to.
This weekend.
Oh, it is okay,
Yep.
but they don't come to Arena until the following week.
Till Monday or Tuesday, I think.
Okay, so maybe we'll get to play with them a little bit before
We'll see.
before the show.
Yeah. But like Brian said, hit us up on social media. Let us know how your pre-releases went.
Yeah, please. Anything cool?
I'm gonna get out to any, so let me live vicariously through you guys. Show me your sealed pools. I want to see them.
You need to show the picture of your opponent's face when you when they block your Phyrexian Obliterator, and then you tell them to sack like 10 permanents.
Yes.
And they go
the
like
only time where you want to cast a pump spell on your opponent's creature.
exactly Titanic Growth.
Yep.
My Obliterator now has Annihilator 9.
Perfect.
There was a video, gosh, maybe right after Obliterator came to Arena. Some streamer was playing, someone attacked with Obliterator, and they like blocked, and then all of their permanents went away, and they didn't know what happened.
They didn't read Obliterator?
Did not read Obliterator, and they got obliterated.
They did.
Yeah, but yeah, reach out to us on social media, let us know, send us sealed pools,
Yeah.
all that stuff.
If you want to support the show, there's two ways you can do it. The first is our TCG player affiliate link at tcg.casualtryhardmtg.com. We know you're going to buy stuff from this set, so you might as well buy it from TCG Player and help support the show. The second way is through our Patreon at patreon.com/casualtryhardmtg. Patrons get access to our show notes. They get access to our pre-show, so it's twice the content for our patrons. Even though the first part of it is of questionable content, I guess. It's not scripted. It's just kind of us talking. So if you like us talking, you get more of it. Patrons also get put on my mailing list for when I have cool stuff to send out to you guys. I had some pretty sweet tokens made that I'll be sending out as this round of givebacks. So if you want in on any of that, chip a couple bucks in. Patreon.com/casualtryhardmtg. Show us how much we mean to you guys, and we would really appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. So with that, we'll catch you on the internet.
We'll catch you on the internet.